Yeah, let's see what ELIZA said. Hello, I'm ELIZA. Hey girl. Don't you ever say hello? Recent studies have talked about the detrimental effects that artificial intelligence and virtual reality can have on a person's health. While the algorithms that drive our social media feeds keep us glued to our screens, studies have shown that the overconsumption of social media can lead to worsening mental health. Furthermore, augmented and virtual reality has permeated our everyday life, from Snapchat filters to trying on furniture at home to enhanced educational experiences. However, other studies have shown the potential detrimental physical and mental effects that AR and VR might have if widely adopted in these environments. But can these technologies actually be used to help improve our mental health? What's up, y'all? It's Fuego. And if you saw my first real-world research video, you'll know that I love sad astronaut movies. And Ad Astra takes sad astronaut to a whole new level, while interweaving artificial intelligence and augmented reality, all aimed at improving the character's mental health. Today we're going to talk about two technologies suggested in the movie and their feasibility, as well as some real-world research happening today that low-key sounds like what they suggest. Now, I'm not going to get into the plot to avoid spoilers, but according to Amazon Prime, this movie is about an astronaut that travels across the solar system in search of his long-lost missing father, whose doomed expedition now threatens humanity. Classic, right? I thought this movie was great, but some of the reviews were pretty bad. I think that this is the next worst movie I've seen in my roughly 60 years of moviegoing. I seriously should have read the reviews of this flaming piece of excrement elsewhere before buying it. I never ever leave reviews. But in the name of all aliens and intergalactic trips, what kind of thing they smoked when they wrote this movie? I mean, a ton of people love the movie. The compelling visuals, the interweaving of astrophysics, space, and computer science throughout the movie. But for me, the incorporation of AI and AR into the everyday life of the main character in an attempt to improve his mental health is the most compelling thing. And so the two technologies we'll be talking about today show up quite heavily throughout the movie, and while they might seem surprising on the surface, we're actually not as far off as one might think. The first tech we're going to talk about is this psychological evaluator that the main character uses throughout the movie, and it highlights some of the work in AI-based psychotherapy that's been going on since the 60s. The second technology is AR immersion in space for what can be perceived as improving someone's mental health. This highlights work in virtual and augmented reality for immersion therapy-based applications such as exposure therapy. If you want links to the videos and papers I'll be talking about today, they'll be in the description box below. Let's get into it. Now, throughout this movie, we see the main character interacting with this AI-based psychological evaluator, and honestly, it's super cringe. Like, listen to this first report he gives. I'm ready to go, ready to do my job to the best of my abilities. I will not rely on anyone or anything. I will not be vulnerable to mistakes. Resting BPM 47. Submit. So we could clearly see that this man is not okay. But this technology is supposed to be super advanced in understanding his thoughts and emotions and words and identifying whether or not he's ready for battle or whatever he's doing. But honestly, this technology seems pretty basic, and I think it's kind of a social commentary on the state of AI today. However, we see through this log that this guy has just learned how to manipulate his thoughts and words to pass the test every time. While this is clearly a fictional overtrust of AI, there are existing systems in the real world that have been developed to understand human emotions and help medical professionals make decisions. The first system that we'll look at is a purely natural language processing based system called ELIZA. It was developed in the mid-60s, and when it came out, it actually passed a modified form of the Turing test, which basically tests whether or not an AI can fool a human into thinking that it's a human. So there are actually a bunch of hosted ELIZA chatbots on the internet. I found this one from Cal State University Fullerton's Psych 101 class. Yeah, let's see what ELIZA said. Hello, I'm ELIZA. Hey girl. Don't you ever say hello? Sometimes. Tell me more. I say hi when people say hi to me. What do you think? That you don't think much. Oh, don't think much? What do I even say to this? Nope. Okay, that me don't think much. Tell me more. This is wrong. Tell me more. Now let's just make this a little clear. The developers who made the ELIZA program didn't intend for it to be an actual therapist. Actually, it was advertised as a system for studying natural language in humans. This implementation of the algorithm aims to emulate a Rogerian therapist, which is essentially a person-centered therapist with the goal of facilitating self-actualization of the patient, or in more simple terms, it aims to allow the patient to take more active control of their life. Now, the way the ELIZA program works is that it does analysis on the conversation, trying to parse and understand the main keywords. When not enough information is available to give a good response, the program asks questions aimed at gaining more information, such as tell me more and can you give a specific example. With this knowledge, we can try using the program again, and by conditioning our responses for this simple algorithm, we can get much more logical conversations, but after a while, the conversation begins to lack substance if the user doesn't add enough context or uses non-standard sentence structure. As we can see, it's completely driven by the user's input. This is quite similar to the main character in the movie conditioning his responses such that the psych evaluator thinks he's okay. This highlights the fact that data-driven natural language processing isn't always enough for understanding random conversations. Okay, so I can't see how this passed the Turing test, but clearly back then NLP was a growing field and people weren't really used to AI, and so people thought this was really similar to a human talking. But it's 2021 now, and a lot of work has been happening over the past few years to develop better systems in this. This is Ellie, an AI-based virtual person, I guess, and Ellie utilizes much more than natural language processing to learn about us. Now, it doesn't claim to be a therapist, but it asks a bunch of probing questions that seem to be mindfulness exercises, and it learns about you and your feelings. Definitely check out the paper for more details. The paper itself advertises the technology as a human interviewer for healthcare decision support. This means that it's meant to be used in conjunction with medical professionals rather than replacing medical professionals with some all-knowing AI. Eventually, I think matured versions of the technology could be really useful, especially in areas that have shortages of medical professionals, as they can be used as a way to streamline that first in-person visit. So let's go back to the movie. So later in this movie, we see that this man is literally all up in his feelings, and he's in this AR-based immersion therapy room where clearly he's trying to find some solace for whatever's going on in his life. Now, this concept isn't actually new. Study in AR and VR has really ramped up in the past few years, with a lot of studies looking at how we can use AR to combat anxiety disorders and phobias, and other studies looking at how we can foster early adoption of these strategies. But even older papers looked at virtual reality for things like phantom limb pain, which is pain in an area of the body that's actually been amputated, which was once thought to be a psychological disorder, but it's actually a physiological disorder related to the brain and the spinal cord. But even so, a few studies suggested that virtual reality could be used to reduce phantom limb pain for limb amputees. Overall, this technology really marks a shift in the way we think about technology for healthcare. It's no secret that there's a growing shortage of medical doctors. As a result, technology is really going to have to advance to support those that are brave enough to take on that challenge. It's clear that AI can't do everything perfectly, so rather than relying on it completely, we need to find ways to incorporate it into existing human processes to improve outcomes for everyone. Comment down below, tell me what you thought about this video and what you want to see on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever I post. That's it for this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Later!